Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our podcast series on the category of ancient wisdom demystified. Today's topic is Moses and monotheism. So, Tata, the Exodus in the Bible is an unbelievable story. Was it
Yeah,
historical? This also brings us to the question, was Moses also historical?
yeah, it's a very valid question. Absolutely valid because there is a lot of research going on right now on the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible. The players in this drama of the Exodus are basically Moses and the followers of Moses, the Israelites, and we had the Egyptians led by the Pharaoh. Now, there's a lot of history which has been written down, and also there's a lot of history which has been made up. This is why Exodus story is mythological and quasi-historical, where you have a story built around something which has happened in history. Exodus is, a part of the Pentateuch or the five books of Torah. It was primarily authored by Moses and probably not alone, but with a team of people under his leadership. Because the Exodus actually is only one part of the book which Moses wrote, but other books which are there follows probably much after Moses' time. So Moses was primarily interested in establishing Yahweh as the primary God in monotheism for the Israelites. So it is his story, not history. His story, not history. And there is no other evidence except for the Bible, the Hebrew Bible, regarding the Exodus as it has been, written down. Archaeological digs in Sinai desert has not delivered a single evidence of 40 years of wandering by the Israelites in the desert. You should have some artifacts like some pots, some implements which would have been left behind if they were just roaming around the Sinai desert. But certain things happened which is tracking with what is written in Exodus. There was a very big volcanic eruption which took place in Thera, which is north of Crete, around 1600 BC. This is what we today call the Santorini Island. You can still see the crater filled with water now. And this literally blew up, the biggest volcanic eruption in the history of humankind. And Egypt was affected because it was directly in the path of the ash fall. And also, it was such a big eruption that there was completely, blackout and also a lot of other problems that happened. Probably, I would say, probably the movement of Israelites took place at that particular time. Note the point 1600 BCE. Now, evidence obtained in 1980 by archaeological researchers, especially people who are studying the ice core in Greenland, they found the tree ring, and radiocarbon dating is dating the actual eruption of Santorini or Terra volcano to 1620 BCE. So it is more or less archaeologically established. Ash and pumice from the eruption was found very far away in Egypt, Israel, and has been the speculation that the eruption was the source of the legend of the Atlantis as well as the Exodus. If you look at all the miracles that happened, which is quoted in Exodus, the 10 miracles that happened, all can be traced to ash fall and the pollution of the river Nile. So this all contributes to what we call as a real event that took place in history, but mapped to indicate that there was actually a lot of people living and the Pharaoh was not in favor of keeping them there. So this is basically what is the introduction I would like to give you for your first question. So it's not historical. It is mythological, highly mythological, but some historical facts are woven into this. Yeah.
Okay. So Tata, you are saying the figure of Moses is not historically verifiable. Why?
Yeah, Egyptians kept a meticulous record of all that happened, but we have no record of Moses or the Exodus in the Egyptian inscriptions. The traditional historical narrative was that Ramses II was the pharaoh when the Exodus happened. You remember Ten Commandments movie? There, you will find that Ramses II is the one who doesn't want the people to go out of Egypt, but then finally, after the miracles happen, he lets them go. The line of succession, if you see, of pharaohs in Egypt, Ramses II is 1279 to 1213 BCE, much later. Remember, I told you about the Santorini explosion, the Thera explosion of the volcano? That was 1600 BC, almost 350 years before Ramses II. So there is something which is not matching here. And also the destruction of Jericho by Joshua in the Old Testament is supposed to happen after the Israelites moved into the Palestine area. But the remains of the network of collapsed and burnt walls in Jericho, in the archaeological dig, dates it to 1400 BCE. So you can see there's a lot of mismatch in the dates. So some historical facts, some imagination, all made up into this particular story. But the Bible is also being rewritten a number of times. You have different versions of the Bible. One of the latest is called the New Jerusalem Bible, which has been accepted by the Catholic Church. And it does not mention any pharaoh by name in Exodus. So the authors know that it will be not right to name a pharaoh because there is a lot of mismatch in the dates. So this is why we say that Moses may not be the real, figure, but somebody in his name, who a name was given, and he came, and he is the person who authored all these things afterwards. Yeah.
So historically, what is the nature of events and how did it lead to establishing monotheism?
Yeah, let us look at the recorded history of the pharaohs first, who ruled Egypt between 16th century and 11th century BCE. The king or the pharaoh who is of importance to our study is Ahmose I, king of ancient Egypt. He reigned between 1539 to 1514 BCE. Now, it was just before his rule that the volcanic eruption occurred. Remember, it's 1600 BCE.
Yeah.
And why we say that that was historically true, because during the reign of Ahmose I, he erected a stele, a stone tablet, where it mentions apocalyptic rainstorm, which devastated much of Egypt. So he was the one who recorded actually what happened during the volcanic eruption. And he attributes to short-term climatic change caused by the volcanic eruption. And the temple stele was erected by the pharaoh Ahmose I in early 18th dynasty of Egypt in the year 1550 BCE. The last line of the stele is very clear. It says, darkness and massive destruction took place in Egypt. Why does darkness take place? Because of the ashfall.
Yeah.
Such a big, volcanic eruption can have complete blocking out of the sun for many, many years. So from 1550 BCE, for almost 200 years, the Egyptian economy did not recover. So it was only Ramses II in 1300 BCE started the renovation process or the rejuvenation process of the economy. Akhenaten, why he is important? Because he ruled between 1351 and 1339 33, just before Ramses and Tutankhamun. Immediately after him came Tutankhamun. Why he is important is because there was so much of devastation in Egypt and so much of plague and other things that Egypt, which was a polytheistic society, and this particular pharaoh believed that these gods are not effective. So Amun the god, because before him all were named after the god Amun. He named it after Aten. Aten is more or less the sky god, with the universal god, the one god. So practically he initiated monotheism in Egypt. Though many scholars still believe whether it was really, very true or not, but it is to a large extent a fact that he was the person who established a monotheistic worship in Egypt. But then it didn't last for long because the plague didn't go away, nothing happened. Yeah. And Tutankhamun came next and he restored the polytheistic worship in Egypt. Tutankhamun ruled between 1332 and 1323, very short rule. He was a boy king, you remember? So this is the history. Now you can see from the history, from whatever has happened, how a lot of historical facts have been twisted around, the dates have been twisted around to create the Exodus story. But ultimate aim was different. We'll see about it later. Yeah.
So Tata, what can we conclude after seeing all these compelling historical facts?
Analysis also, yeah, very true, yeah. You see, Exodus and Moses are mythological narrations by a group under the leadership of a very knowledgeable leader. Whoever name will be, we are given the name Moses, but whatever be his name. This was just to inculcate, the single agenda was to inculcate the faith in the single God, Yahweh. This leader, let us call him Moses, used after effects of the volcanic eruption to lead a band of people from Egypt to Israel. He also used his knowledge of the Sumerian Akkadian astronomy and the ancient code of Hammurabi, as I told you in the last episode, to create the 10 commandments. And he gave it so that he could have a control over society. And he was a very ruthless man. In fact, he killed all the people who worshipped Baal. Baal was an ancient god who actually was the god of Canaan. And from there he was taken to, because Canaan was under the rulership of Egypt. Egypt took this worship there, and that is why we have the worship of the bull. And Moses really, ruthlessly destroyed this worship. The land of Israel also was devastated by a plague. That's why he didn't go immediately into Israel, because the whole region was affected by the volcanic eruption. So, according to scholarly consensus, it was probably only after 1250 BCE, the Israelites entered Canaan and settled at the hillside in the southern part of the country. Then only all that other thing happened. So that is a short narrative of a very big history, but provides enough inputs for a deeper reflection on the evolution of the Hebrew monotheism. How Moses used all his knowledge and his power to control the people, the Israelites, the various tribes, and institute the monotheism in Israel. This shows that most religious histories are highly mythological, based around spiritually advanced and revolutionary individual and a set of followers who were excellent communicators. Very important after that, because one man creates the concept, but then you have other people who are very powerful communicators who will communicate this message to the people who come afterwards. So this is what happened in other religions also. We'll see about it in the next episode and trace the evolution of Christianity, the single God of Christianity. Well, I think it has been an interesting chat. Thank you very much for your participation. We will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye-bye.